Hello, you're welcome to Further Together.
Enriching relationships, creating a better future.
Yes, what an opportunity and what a time to be alive. We are now at the end of 2022. It has been a year full of challenges, uncertainty, but you know what? God have taken us through. If you are just joining us, we want to say welcome. If it is your first time, thank you for coming by here, and would encourage you to share with friends and family. If you are a regular, we also want to say thank you so much for coming back. Would you please share with friends and family so that they do benefit from the content that you are enjoying right here?
It's always a pleasure having you right here on Further Together. And tonight is going to be another good night. But before we crack on, we're just going to allow you to share the broadcast. We've got an amazing woman that's doing great works in our community. But before we go a bit further in inviting her and touching on the topic that we have tonight, please do kindly share the broadcast. And if you're joining us, do let us know where you're joining from so that we can, give you some love. We are based in England, London. So do just throw in, let us know where you're connecting from.
Yes.
You are checking yourself out.
Yes, I have to check myself
You're
out.
looking good.
Last week we had Bishop Jeffrey all the way from Zimbabwe, and we were speaking about HIV and AIDS and the impact that it has caused. And we were also looking at how best we can conquer, because UNAIDS, United Nations, UNAIDS, they are working on, zero tolerance on HIV and AIDS. But this week we have just shifted and we are coming to a brand new topic.
And tonight, we are touching on evolving culture and its impact on families. And, the amazing woman that we have with us this evening is one that works a lot in the community. Sorry, we're just going to cut because Buckingham Palace has just joined in right now. Shama, thank you for joining us all the way from Buckingham Palace.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. And tonight we're touching on evolving culture and its impact on families. Now, I'll just give you this quick one before we go in. I've got somebody in my comment section who says, they were speaking particularly to Zimbabweans, and they were like, as Zimbabweans, do we even have a culture, or we are in some sort of identity crisis? So when we talk of evolving culture, what are we really, really talking about? So they were taking it from a different perspective.
Yes.
But tonight we're going to go a bit further from the lady that's actually studied a lot on this area of culture and families. So ladies and gentlemen, help us to welcome Auntiey Mimiey.
Hello.
Hey, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me on this great platform. And what great work you are doing.
It is an honor to have you. We know you are quite busy. Last week you had the Women's Symposium, and this afternoon you went to a funeral. You were attending a funeral, one of our children within the community, and we feel more honored to have you tonight. Is auntie, not just our own auntie, but auntie for everyone, auntie for the community.
Auntiey Mimiey.
Auntie Wabantu.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, indeed, we had a great symposium last week. And Lady Priscilla, she was speaking on accountability. Oh my God, she's dynamite. She is dynamite.
Always a pleasure to see you on different platforms and see the work that you're doing in the community. And one work that you're doing is you're working with families. And we want to thank you so much for the work that you're doing.
Right. Thank you.
Yes, our topic tonight, we're talking of
evolving culture
and its impact on families. Could you just, in a nutshell, take us through your understanding of how the culture is evolving and the impact that you have seen so far before we get into much detail.
Right. So I think first we probably need to uh, define in what context that we think culture is. And
Yes.
I think cultures really is about shared beliefs, ideas, opinions, thoughts. It's like a collective understanding of something that you come together and you accept it as the norm. So
Yes.
what when we see and we don't even bat an eyelid because it's normal, then we see something that causes us to be uncomfortable. That means that thing is not normal within our ideas, opinions, what we understand as a collective. So that's what I understand as culture. And we are a people who have moved away from our homes. Zimbabweans, especially if I speak of Zimbabweans initially, they maybe come to Africa, that we have migrated from our home places where we used to live. And our marriages or our family structures changed. How we see that is because maybe we started having long-term relationships where someone is in another country, settling there, then getting their spouse to come and join them. So maybe sometimes it's the husband that goes ahead, then there is a gap in their relationship, then the husband then brings the wife over and they join each other. So that is no longer the normal of when someone used to be married and they are staying together in one place. Like maybe you are at your compound, muri kumusha, and the baba ndiwo musoro wemusha, he's the head of the family.
Yes.
So all those things change, not because we wanted to change, but life, we are economic migrants because of the economy, some because of politics. They left their homes. Then when they left, their norms became different. So that's when we are saying it is evolving. Things are changing and we are needing to adjust to those changes. But when changes come, it's never easy.
Now, Aunt Mimi, I know for sure that you weren't born in the UK. You've had to migrate to come into this country. How has been your own experience? You know, you've got family here. I'm not sure if you were a mother back where you're coming from, but how has been your experience?
So for me, when I'm married, I've been married for 20 years plus now. I've been in a relationship with the same man for over 30 years now.
Same person. Well
So
done.
when I came to United Kingdom, I came because I wanted to have adventure. I was born in Zimbabwe, lived in Zimbabwe from one place to the other. In my early teens, I went and I lived in Moscow. I came back to Harare, finished my GCSEs and A levels. I came to UK. But in that process, I had a boyfriend from an early age, just around 16 years of age. I met this man and we were friends. Then we started dating. And when I left Zimbabwe, he put a ring on my finger and I came here. And we lived 6 months apart. And I just said to him, I need you to come see the life here. If you like it, we stay here. If you don't like it, we go back. Because I'm one person that does not believe that we could have handled a long-term relationship, because I'm a bit on the faster side. So I thought if we are together, the challenges are less, so we stand a chance to win if we are together. So I came first, then he came after me. When he came, he had a very good job in Zimbabwe. And then he came, his life was displaced. And I had started my nursing. I was enjoying my
Well,
nurse training. I became a nurse. So my life was going the way I wanted. But for him, he had to shift. He had to change his life for me. so again, that is our relationship evolving. When we were in Zimbabwe, he was in a place where he could take us out, he could take us on trips, things like that.
Yeah.
Then when we came here, his life is displaced. Maybe I'm the one who's making suggestions as to what I can do and things like that. And for his mindset, maybe that was not acceptable. So I could feel the strain, the pressure that he wants to be in charge. So even if I say I'm contributing, he did not like the idea of me contributing. So in the end, the things that we would do together, he would not want to do the things that I am contributing. And I might want to do those things because I'm thinking we should be doing these things. But for him, for his pride, that didn't work. So we faced that challenge. Then we settled our life. He started his businesses at that time, and his businesses were doing well. And he liked that because he could provide for us. And he didn't understand why I needed to go to work, because in his mindset, I should not be going to work. But I was thinking, I need to go to work.
There is a challenge which most men, myself included, do face when we migrated to the UK or to any other country outside Zimbabwe, because we felt like our power, the masculine has been, removed from us.
Yeah.
And now we are on the same pedestal with our wives. Coming here to the UK, it was more worse than it was the Queen's land before the Queen left. So lots
a lot of opportunities for us women.
to women. But how would that then impact families apart from the marriage? Does that affect children as well?
Well, I think if we look at it from that context, how then it would affect marriage is each and everyone involved in the marriage, they need to understand the changes in the times. And I was looking at the Bible in First Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32. It says there were men who had the sons of Issachar.
The sons of Issachar, yes.
Yes, they had an understanding of the times. And in the book of Daniel chapter 117, I researched the verses because I thought this is a Christian platform.
That's sweet. Go on.
Yeah, it says that these children, God gave them knowledge, skill in all learning, and wisdom. So when you are living a different life, you need to understand the times. You need to adjust to the changes. You need to apply the things you learn. So you need to invest time to say, I actually need to research. I'm in a completely different environment here. I need to find how well can I adjust? What can I do to adjust and adapt, to understand that time, that the time that I'm in, the season that I'm in. If your wife is pregnant, you understand my wife is pregnant. She does not like spices. And you adjust and you eat food with no spices. You have now gone into the diaspora. Life has changed. You need to adjust to that change.
Auntie, I feel like you are talking.
That for us is kind of a cage. I don't know the experience of your husband, but for me, growing up in Zimbabwe, where the culture was, if my wife is going into the labor ward, then I could be with the boys. We are doing what we are doing, and I'm only called that baby has come. Then I go there. Now coming here, being in the labor ward, I didn't know that it was very traumatizing, but the challenge which we have is
traumatizing, but you were taking video.
Yes, the challenge which we have is we do not have anybody who was here before us, and there's no manual to these changes. So when you talk of adaptation, how do we do this? Like another guy in the Bible, he says, how do I understand when there's nobody to interpret for me? So there is a challenge. If you look at the women in UK, I think there are groups, ladies of UK, there are groups Zim UK, Zim women, and you have the thousands there. But with men, we are busy, we are running around. So how do we adapt when there's no manual, there's nobody to tell us these things?
Right. So I understand what you are saying. Again, we come back to our culture that men keep information inside. And I think
Definitely.
what you are doing on this platform, that's one of the steps of the things that we need to do, where we are discussing these issues. And people need now to invest time to sit on platforms like this, not to follow other things that do not help them, but follow the right portals on social media. Because social media, I think you were talking about the digital age a few weeks ago. So the digital age, again, is part of the evolving culture because it's bringing another culture into our marriages. But there are portals where you can go and you can learn. And you can, the Zim women in UK was not always there. The women created that portal. So men can also create portals where they are talking and sharing information.
That is so profound, Aunt Mimi. The ball is in your court, guys. Creating platforms. And I like a statement that you mentioned a lot, which says embrace knowledge. And I think sometimes men don't want to embrace it, that you're in a different space, you're in a different culture. Things are not going to be always the way they were. We're not just going to go and bring dishi and say, every now and then Baba Giza Maoko and stuff like that. When everybody's busy. So there are certain areas where people we don't want to just, say men adjust, because women included, sometimes we're struggling to adjust. Now, Sai says, why is it that most men struggle to adjust? I don't know if it's a question we should throw your way, or if there are men out there that can, help us, but if it's something, I know you work with families anyway, so you might have, reasons as to why men struggle to adjust most.
I think it is pressure from peers, pressure from women ourselves, because we are the Tetes. I remember I read that book, those book series, the Tete book series, very educating. As you are reading them, you're thinking amazing. And if you find most of the bickering that goes on is the Tete. When Tete gets to your home and she finds your husband is peeling a butternut, then they are calling their brother. I remember when we had our son, when we would go to church, my husband used to carry the thermal for the bottle, the bottle milk.
Yes.
I used to love that, like you see with his work that this man is in love with his son. And when I would leave the car, I would never pick that bag because my husband would carry it. But it was a woman that told him not to carry it. So one day we got out of the car and the bag was left in the car. And well, the child is crying, we're looking for it. And I said to my husband, do you have the bag? And he said to me, did you take it out of the car? And I said, but you take it out of the car. He said, it's your job to take it out. And I'm like, where did this man come from? So when we were talking, I said, so what's happened? I thought this was something you like to do. He said, Mrs. So told me that I should not do it. It's not a man's job.
Wow. And Nokula is saying the very same woman wants her husband to adjust as well. And she's telling your husband to leave the bag.
Yeah.
And this is so true. We had an experience where we went to Zimbabwe, and my daughter always, when she was young, when she uses the toilet, she would always call daddy, like, daddy, come. And you know what? Now we were going back to Zim, and we thought, like, you know what? I just hope that this scenario will not happen, at my mother-in-law's house. And lo and behold, because the girl is used to that, I said, Vicky, are you ready? Can I come? She said, no. I want my daddy. And it was such an awkward atmosphere, because to grandma is like, how can daddy, go and help a daughter when you are there. So these are real issues. And sometimes as women, we may struggle at that, we are okay with when we want our men to adjust. But when it's the other way around, it can be so, so difficult.
So she want me to adjust, but she doesn't want her brother to adjust. So she goes to her brother's house and say, you are my brother, I don't need to do this. Apart from the issues that we're talking about of the chores, the issue of finances, are there any changes that have happened there, and any constraints?
Yeah, so the role changes came with the pressure of finances. So women really, I think our parents, they never really used to go to work, really. So the father would bring all the money, like if you see my husband's family, it was a perfect traditional family, right?
Yes.
I came from a broken home, and I'd been raised by women, and I was on fast forward. When I say fast forward, I was on fast forward. And for me, it has taken me years to realize the role of a man and the importance of it. So because I had no understanding of that, that sweetness that should be in me was not in there. I was just like, what's the big deal? I can do it, you can do it. You understand? But because of he was a good man and he had sweetness in him to bring out the sweetness in me. You understand? So sometimes also characters come to play. But what I can say to women is that remember that your man has got an ego. When you talk to him, sit down and talk to him, explain the situation to him. These are the challenge that I'm facing. Talk to him with love, with understanding. Do not challenge one another. There's no need to challenge one another. You're on the same team. Communicate. When you are feeling tired, explain you are feeling tired. This is what you're going through. Men understand the language of love. The language of love. Men understand the language of love. I don't know. There is something about challenging language that we use. Our seniors, I think the women that came before my generation, they call that a tamed tongue, to be tamed. When you speak in a
Sorry
tamed
to
way.
cut you here. Look what Nomtila says. She says shift cause anger.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Sit down, my friend.
Definitely.
Sit down, Nomtila.
How are you, woman of God? Definitely. But no matter what, love can speak, love can rule. We cannot justify to say because I am angry because of a shift. We can be each other's source of support. When you understand one another and you have that communication that is open and you feel for one another, I tell you, when you come from work, no matter how tired you are, you're not angry. You're rushing to go home to each other, to be in each other's bosoms, to talk to one another, to explain that you had a bad day. So you can't come from work and have a bad day and get home and think, oh, I'm going to see that bad man. Build a relationship with your husband. Bring him close. My husband came from a family where it was a traditional family, very loving, but very traditional. There is no cuddling, there is no hand holding. But if you see me with him now, you think, what's with this man? Nowadays, he's lost so much weight and he almost looks like my son. But what is this young man doing? What is this young man doing? We built that. We worked hard. Like if I could go the journey that I worked to bring out the man I want in him, and the journey that he worked to bring out the woman that he wants in me. But it is doable. Marriages work. Changes come, not to break us, but to bring us together. I want to tell you a story. When I was young and I was working and I wanted to go to Africa, I just told my husband, I want to go and see my mom. And my husband said, you can't go because we have a child. You can't take my child with me. That's what he said. But I think that was his way of saying, don't go. And I wanted to go and see my mom. And I told my friend who was from the West Indies. She was not married, doing very well, very big job at my workplace and things like that. And she said, when do you want to go? And I told her, and she bought me a ticket with a card online. Yeah, said, tell me when is your annual leave. And she said, you go and leave that child with him.
Wow.
And I went home and I said, I'm going to go home on this date. And he said, but how are you going to go when I told you that you can't go with my son? And I said, I'm not taking the son. This is a friend that, that had given me the guts and the boldness to do something foolish like that. You understand?
Yeah.
And sure enough, I went to Africa and I left my husband with the child.
Wow. Did it not cause any friction afterwards?
This man almost had a heart attack. And I bought my nice girly outfit. I had my nails done. And I'm wanting him to take me to the airport. This man almost died.
Hey!
Yeah.
And now having to adjust and be the mom, be the dad, look after this child when you're gone. Yeah.
But when I came back, he said, I have learned that looking after a child is hard work. And he's the way we would look after our son in the home changed because he experienced what it felt like. Obviously, I had to apologize. I had to go through people to apologize for that behavior and things like that. But that was when I was young and foolish and I didn't have wisdom. I did not know how to talk to my husband.
You were a risk taker.
Risky, eh?
Yes. Now, Auntie, we to those who are just joining us, we are talking of evolving culture and its impact on families. And in a family, we have the father and we have the mother and we have the children. And now the challenge is we evolve differently, especially here in the diaspora, and that has an impact on our parenting skills. The way I do it, I come from a very African, background. To Priscilla's, I see it as she is more of, she came here in her teens, so kind of a British English Zimbris kind of a thing, which to me it doesn't suit with the way of parenting. How do we then work together in this house where there are two people, they're evolving, but they're on different stages of evolvement?
So that is a very good question. I'm a children's nurse myself, and I worked in accident and emergency for 8 years. 8 years I worked in accident and emergency. And I saw initially when we started working there, I never used to see our children of our background coming with issues like self-harm, but now I'm seeing it on the increase. And I realized that it was the way we were parenting our children, that in the home environment, we have a different structure, a different culture. They go to school, there's a different culture. And I found that that then confused the young ones. They confused the young ones. So I would say the children will help us to adjust when we look at our children and their needs. And we actually need to invest time in understanding the parental skills that we need for such an environment. Our communication skills ought to be different. You know, when we were growing up, my mom would look at me and I would not know to do that. But when you look at our children now with an adult, like, what is it? I do something wrong.
Don't look at me like that.
Why are you looking at me, Dad? Why are you looking at me like that?
Yeah. And we find that as though they are challenging, but they are taught to explain things. When they try to explain, we say, you are answering. So, but what we are doing is we are losing our children to mental health, or we are losing our children because our children then become estranged from us. That is a need that should tell me as a parent. Remember what we said about understanding the times, that as a father, I need to change my methods. And I find that because maybe women work in the care industry, they communicate in a caring way, and the husbands, maybe they never really went into the care industry. They came and they started their business, and they communicate, and they have not had insight into family structures here. They are thinking we need to raise our children the way we were raising our children in Africa, but it's not so. We teach them our culture, but we learn to communicate with our children. We need to bond with our children. The other thing that happens is, if you don't communicate with your child, someone else will communicate with your child.
Very true.
Yeah, your child could be going through bullying, and we know there is institutional racism, whether we like it, we don't like it. There is institutional racism. Some schools, they will break your child for you. At school, they're having messages that break them. At home, they're having a message that breaks them. So what happens? There is an increase in gang culture because there is a belonging where they are told these words that make them feel worthy, that feel that they belong. So they belong to those gangs, and you can't remove them because you have allowed them to hear a word of belonging from an outsider. So we need to find ways to build boundaries, but in the same way, we need to encourage our children. One example that I can give you: when you go to the sports field, no matter which team your child is in, even if you are wearing a yellow t-shirt and your child is in a red team, when your child starts to run, you never clap for someone else's child. You clap for your own child. And in life, in these countries where we go, where we don't really know whether we belong or don't belong there, we need to be the cheerleaders for our children. We tell them they are beautiful from their appearance, from their hair. When they experiment with clothes, we don't talk them down. You know, like sometimes they will experiment and she wear a really short skirt, and you think, what is going on? No, we encourage that desire to dress themselves, and we build on it. But when our husbands see that, they think, oh, mom is promoting the child to wear short dress. No, I am winning my child from the world so that they find a refuge, a place of solace. So the home, if you are in the home and there's domestic violence, the child is not looking forward to coming to this toxic environment. They're going to school, they are being bullied. They're going to school, they are not being given the words of encouragement by a teacher that is picking up on them. So where will that child find a release? That's the question you need to ask yourself.
These are words of wisdom. And like one of our mentors says, that don't be married to methods. You know, if the method is not working, leave it. You know, you can't keep parenting the Zimbabwean way. You know, let's do it the kingdom way. And as culture is evolving, let's keep on learning new practices that are effective for our children. Now, one of the areas that I see you touching a lot on is on the use of our language, our mother tongue.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with our children, they're in the diaspora, but, you know, using that mother tongue, what does it do? How does it help our children?
Like my son, when he was young, he learned our Shona and was speaking Shona. Then he went to a nursery and he couldn't speak English, and he was bullied because of that. So then he just started speaking English and decided, like, he didn't feel comfortable in speaking Shona. But when he grew older, then he started to search to speak Shona. And he said to me, Mom, how am I going to have children? And how am I going to tell them about my identity if I don't know my language, if I don't know my heritage? So our African boys, they see their fathers, they see that the father has got a heritage. They see their fathers talking about their parents, about their kumusha and things like that. And they want to show that to their children. So we need to help them have a language that gives them an identity. Again, that makes them feel they belong somewhere. Because no matter how much we are here, we really do not really belong here. We belong, but we don't belong. I don't know. I'm not being rude or anything like that. This is the fact of life.
Yeah.
The myth of the
It's the
diaspora.
myth of the diaspora. Yes,
Mm.
Yeah.
we feel like we are here, and when things go sour, we will discover that we can be British, but we cannot be English.
Right.
Then that sends us back home where we belong. And yeah, that's
When you feel a form of ethnicity, if you go to hospital or to your GP and feel a form of ethnicity, look at it and see see the tick boxes where you fit in. That will tell you something. Because I went and I said, my children do not they do not affiliate to any of those that is on this list, but they insisted. So they're either Black African, Black Afro-Caribbean, or Black other.
Oh, it's getting deeper. And Pastor Kenny says language gives our children an identity. And at one point, our biggest boy came to us and he's like, "Mom and Dad, you know what? Each time, you guys always find a way of communicating with yourselves that he's trying to pick a lot on our language, and sometimes we've created." We used to call it chibende. I don't know what.
like slang.
Jargon.
Yes, our own, because he understands Shona. And sometimes we want to say some things for him not to hear. So he was like, but Mom and Dad, I think I know Shona, but then I hear you speaking some other strange language, which I'm trying to pick up.
He says you speak gibberish.
And he's trying to work that.
For me, it was gossiping. Like we were talking about someone, and my son just jumped in and said, did Mrs. So-and-so actually do that? And I said, do what? And he said it in English. And that's when I learned that, no, now no matter how deep my Shona is, I cannot talk about something thinking my children don't understand. They understand.
Yeah, now, like you have mentioned, we have two homes. We have the home in the diaspora, then we have the home back. And we are speaking of the evolving culture in families. But what I've discovered in along the way is the culture that is in the diaspora that evolves. So if an event happens back home, and Priscilla and I are going home, where she is the daughter-in-law or where I am the son-in-law, there are certain expectations that she's expected to do, and there are certain duties that I'm expected to do as Mukwasha in the house. How do we then do that? Because we reach a point whereby we are like in cruise control of, yeah, you're right, mate, I'm all right, mate, in the door, and you go home where you're supposed to sit down and clap hands. How do we mix those two?
I think there is nothing wrong with clapping. Clapping is nice. It's our culture. It's an expression of our culture. When we clap to our in-laws, we are showing them respect. There is nothing wrong. But I am thinking about the duties, like the woman. Maybe you are the one who end up expecting you to carry firewood, water, what. It's all on you. Build relationships with your tetes, with your mother-in-law. Build relationships with them. Take them as your mother. Like even if they don't welcome you, you work, they will love you. Some of them, they're just testing you, but when they love their brother, they love you. They cannot not love you when they love their brother, unless they've got mental health issues like that can't be changed. Then we can't help it. But you have to build relationship. When you build relationships with your in-laws, you come to their level. In children's nursing, they say when you're talking to a child, go down and speak to them. Sit down on the floor and talk to a child. So when you are dealing with your tetes, maybe they are in Africa, just come to their level. Be nice. Be nice. I remember when my husband has got 4 sisters, and in their family, they are like this. If you ask them one question today, like when they're in different rooms, ask them one question, they give you the same answer. That's how close they were. Then I came and I'm trying to go in this ring. of people that are close like that.
Mm.
It was like you are an outsider, you are trying to come into this circle.
Mm.
But I remember I went to my friend and I cried and I said, I can't do this. I love this man, but I can't do this. And she said, go and love them with all of your heart. They will love you. I tell you, those people, they love me so much, the way they love their brother. I'm now in the circle. So you need, as a mkwasha, be a son. When your mother-in-law is cooking in the kitchen, go in the kitchen. Mama, how are you? What are you doing, Mama? I've made some water for you, Mama. Love it the way you treat your wife. Yeah? Charm me. You will see. They will love you. They will love you. But sometimes we put barriers. Then we say your parents are like this. Then Lady Priscilla goes to a mom. He could say you are like this. Do you see? And when you fight, she phones them. Mama is like, he said it, then he said it, then he said. Then when you come, when I was foolish, I told my mom, and my mom said, tell your husband if he wants yen, if he wants pula, if he wants whatever currency he wants, I can give him back his
I'll
money.
give him back his money.
How dare you treat my daughter like that? But it was me. Then I realized that actually I'm not being good. When we are happy, I'm not telling my mom we're having a good time.
You know,
Oh yes.
you know, when you are busy in the bedroom, you're not telling Mama that Mama.
Yeah, the only time you pick their phone, hey Mama, you said I put too much salt. That's the only time you put it.
Well, these are words of wisdom, and this is why they call you Auntiey Mimiey. You know, you are Tete for a reason, and this is why, you know, you're working and giving wisdom to a lot of women out there. And do you know what? You've mentioned it. If we can access, you know, people like you, access your channels, access your platforms, we can learn. We can just make sure that we are coming to you. We can let it all out, you know, be accountable and just share with people that will be able to help and impact our marriages.
Yeah, well, that's very good. And before we ask you about your channels, I just want to take it personal to you, Auntiey Mimiey. I do have some areas where I struggle. I go to my son's school, and I'm standing, and then a little boy from my son's class comes and say, "Oh, what's your name?" And I'm looking at this boy and I'm thinking, you asking my name? How dare you? I'm probably older than your father. How are you going to deal with the issues of your daughter-in-law coming and she'll say, "Hi Mimi.
Hi Mimi. Hi Mim.
Is Josh in?" Asking your son. How do we do with this? Because these are the changes and these are real. Now my son's girlfriend is coming to ask my son and say, "Hi Priscilla, is Tanaka in?" How do we deal with this? How do you deal with this? I do struggle. Is it the African man in me, which makes me feel like, what is your name? I'm Mr. Coffee. I'm Tanaka's dad.
I'm Baba. I'm Baba.
Yeah, I think you can say call me Baba, call me Mama. You know, at work they call me Auntiey Mimiey. They call me Auntiey Mimiey. Yeah. But I think that like I once went to the playground with my daughter and a friend. And their friend said, "Your mom is very nice. Can I call her? What's her name?" And she said, "Mimi." I said, "Can I call her Mimi?" I said, "No, I'm Auntie." And she kept looking at me and I said, "Yes, I'm your auntie." And up to now, she calls me Auntie. I think it's entirely up to you what you teach your children, what you agree on. It's neither here nor there that someone calls you by your first name. Respect is not in you being called Mr. Coffee. They can call you Mr. Coffee and still disrespect you. However, you can ask what you want to be called. I like the English because they ask you, what would you like to be called? And just tell them, "Oh, you can call me Uncle. Call me Uncle Kudzi." And that's it. Or call me Auntie Priscilla. Yeah.
Thank you. I think you've settled it, yeah? Kudzi.
Yeah, Unks.
Yeah, he likes being called Unks. Yeah, Unks. Because that's what some of them say, Unks, you know. So you can get that. We've got a question here. Just a quick one. It says, how do you deal with mixed marriages?
There is a page, I can't remember the name of it. If I find, I'll put it there. About this couple, they are mixed, like they are in a mixed relationship. And I found it very interesting because the lady just told the men that where I come from, we pay cows, we pay goats. And they had a wedding where they were wearing the traditional things. I think they are from Tanzania somewhere. I will find the page and I will share it on this comment. I think just respect each other's cultures. Communication is key in everything. When you marry someone, tell them our culture. In my husband's family, my brother-in-law is married to someone from South Africa. We tell you about our culture. We ask you about their culture. What is it that you want us to do? We learn of each other's foods. We don't. Have you ever seen people say, you eat potato?
Potato.
You understand? Respect each other's meals. Just have respect for your differences. You went to that person from another culture because you loved them. There is something you loved about them. Get to know them in their culture. Introduce your culture to them. Have a way to honor each other. If it is the English, they are very good. They don't have a problem with respecting someone else's culture. They are so good. They are so good with that. It's us, mainly it's us, the Africans. I think, why you wear like that? Why you wear like that? No. Let's have communication skills. Let's invest in communication lessons, how to communicate, how to be respectful. Let's respect
and don't say their food stinks.
Right. Don't mind Priscilla. Auntie, there's in closing, there are people who are watching right now and they want to know how can they get in touch with you. What are the programs that are lined up in the new year? Could you please share with the viewers?
So I'm having Christmas break. I do not have a calendar for 2023. We had a beautiful 2022 where we did a lot of initiatives. I run a lot of platforms. One of my biggest platforms is Tsika Lounge. You can go on Facebook page, Tsika Lounge. Tsika means culture. I run the Dear Auntiey Mimiey page, which is an agony auntie. And I do series of live broadcasts every Saturday night on newzimbabwe.com, Saturday night in. If you've got something that you think is amazing that you want us to share about, inbox me. My name on Facebook is Mimi Kwenda, but my Kwenda is Quenda. I will put the link in the comment section. We are supportive of the communities. We run the Zimbabwe Community Hub. Women, you can come to the Zimbabwe Women in UK, where women are doing great things, businesses, networking, whatever you think, you can come. That's Auntiey Mimiey in a nutshell.
Yes. Thank you so much, Auntiey Mimiey. And
before you go, there is a question for you from Siwongile Kumalo. She's asking, how far?
Garika and Violet, they are coming. They're definitely coming. 2022 and its own challenges, which really derailed the coming out of Tete book, Tete Volume 3. I know we left it hanging there, and we want to know about that child who's the father of that child, what's going to happen to Violet and Garikai. Volume 3, I promise you, it will not be beyond 28th of May, because 28th of May is my birthday, and I always release my books. And I'm hoping that I will release 3 books in one on that day.
Right. So Siwongile and the rest of the people who are asking about the books are coming, and just fingers crossed before the 20th of May, they'll be coming. Yes.
Guys, if you've joined us for the first time, do kindly follow us. We know some of you may be connecting via dear Auntiey Mimiey's platform, or if you're connecting via Zoom Women UK, we are live every Thursday and would love for you to join us again. We do cover a lot of impactful discussions on this platform. Auntiey Mimiey, it's been amazing having you on this platform, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, what more shall we say apart from saying thank you so much to our viewers for giving us your precious possession, which is your time. Time permitting, God willing, we'll meet again next week, same channel. For me, my beautiful wife, together with Auntiey Mimiey, we are saying have a good night.
Thank
Love
you.
you, everyone.